Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I think we should go ahead and get started on time. Gail's just joining. I just admitted her. My name is Ami Dang. For those of you who don't know me or we haven't met, I'm the Director of Development here at New Music USA. We're so excited to kick off this season of Table for Tens with Clarice Assad. But without further ado, I'll just turn it over to Vanessa to conduct the interview. I just want to ask you all to please keep yourselves on mute until it's time for our chat and Q&A at the end. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ami, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Table for 10 event, which brings together music lovers like you from across the country with some of the most exciting and inspiring music creators of our time. And Clarice Assad is a particularly versatile and talented example of one of those inspiring music creators. So thank you so much, Clarice, for being with us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Excellent. Well, we're going to hear from Clarice in a moment, but I just want to say a few words about why we run these Table for 10 events. And the reason that we put together these regular encounters is because we really believe on the power of building a thriving community for new music across the whole of the United States. And we believe in building community amongst artists, practitioners, and the music lovers and audiences who bring all of this work to life. And tonight we're with Clarice, who is based in Chicago. Our next Table for 10 guest in December will be in LA. And I think probably in January, we're going to end up back in New York. So that just shows you how we're trying to tap into the vast array of creators who are influencing the future of music in the US. And all of this, of course, is only possible because of the support of people like you who've joined New Music Connect, and you're enabling us to give all kinds of resources to composers and organizations across the country. So I just want to thank you all for everything you've been doing to support us and for believing in our cause and for being members of this brilliant society, which I always look forward to being part of. So thank you. And I mentioned that Clarice is from Chicago. Well, tonight, one of our New Music Connect members, Kate Benson, who's also in Chicago and who I happen to know is quite a fan of Clarice, is going to introduce Clarice Assad for us. Kate is an independent director of the Micro Metal Corporation, and she was previously CEO of the Chicago Network for 10 years, who we were really delighted to get to know a bit at the Ravinia Festival earlier this year in the summer. So Kate, thank you so much for your support. And I'm going to hand over to you to introduce Clarice.
Great. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I am thrilled to introduce everybody to Clarice Assad. I first heard Clarice play with her father and uncle at a concert at the University of Chicago, and she sang and played the piano, and her voice is like crystal. It is so gorgeous. And I don't know if we're going to get to hear any clips of you singing, but I hope so. And then as Vanessa mentioned, I was so privileged to actually meet Clarice at Breaking Barriers this summer, our spectacular collaboration with Ravinia. So I'm going to spend like 30 seconds telling you a little bit about Clarice. She is really a significant artistic voice in the classical world, also world music, pop, and jazz. So she is a polyglot. She is a Brazilian American composer. She's a celebrated pianist. She's an inventive vocalist, and she's also an educator. She's acclaimed for her evocative colors, rich textures, and diverse stylistic range. And as you might imagine, she is really sought after by artists and organizations all over the world. And to bring it home, we are so proud that Clarice is one of the composers commissioned by our Amplifying Voices program. And what that program does is it partners with more than 45 orchestras across the country to bring new works to the classical canon by composers who have been historically underrepresented in classical music. And Clarice's orchestral commission will be premiered by the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra in Minnesota on Friday, January 12th. So while I know that traveling to Minnesota in January may not appeal to everybody, I would encourage you to get it on your calendar and go hear Clarice's work in person. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Vanessa, for what I know will be a spectacular conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kate. And having heard all of those incredible words about Clarice's music, I think the only thing we can do is actually start this whole session by hearing a clip, or seeing a clip of Clarice in action. So Ami, thank you so much for helping to share all of the clips this evening. Thank you. I want to make sure we have a chance to ask Clarice a bit about that piece. So thank you so much. That was wonderful. And we've got more to come very soon, just to show you the incredible breadth of Clarice's music. But Clarice, should we stop screen sharing for a moment? That would be great so we can see everyone. And Clarice, I wanted to just tell us a bit about that piece and where that came from, and tell us about the process.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Kate, for the amazing things you said about me. Okay, so that was an entire improvisation. The music was being made at that very, very moment. It was an encore after a program of vocal choral music with these young students. So I had the chance to work with them for like a week and train them about gestures and things so they could follow me. So I don't think you could really kind of hear everything, but the audience is also participating. And everything that happens in these improvisations, they come out of nowhere. I mean, it's imagining music in that moment. So that's what's the exhilarating part of this process, is all music made with the mouth. There was a person that beatboxing. And what I like about this process of creating with especially young musicians is that, number one, they are very open to it. They're exploring with their voices in ways that they would not normally do, and also getting really comfortable being on stage and being surprised. Like you throw something at them and they have to react and do something, because if they freeze, everybody falls apart. So it's about holding everyone together, if that makes sense. So this is a part of a work that I have, which is called exploration. And I take this everywhere with me whenever I have a residency with chamber groups or orchestras and do outreach work. Usually that's what I do, is I get people to sing and improvise, right?
Fantastic. And I think I read that in 2019, you actually wrote a piece that was inspired by the legendary female Brazilian soccer player, Marta Vieira da Silva. And that again was, in this case, scored for full orchestra, but with a lot of active participation from the audience, again, singing, body percussion, sound effects. How did that go?
Yeah, that was commissioned by the Cabrillo Festival of Contemporary Music in Santa Cruz, California. And it was actually a commission for their family program. It was like the Sunday afternoon where everyone brought their kids. So we had like 3,000 people and most of them were kids. Oh my God. And the idea is to get young people engaged. First of all, coming to the orchestra, get their attention, on you. So that was a way of telling a story. So behind me, I had a PowerPoint presentation that gave prompts to the kids and the parents. So they had to do all of these things, including singing with the orchestra at the same time with, what is it called? Those beams things that you use for cats, like with the laser pointer? I had like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and I would point at that and they would sing and the orchestra would play at the same time. And it was the most beautiful sound. So I had the chance to do this with St. Paul Chamber Orchestra in January. We did it for 7,000 children over the week.
Oh, that's a lot of children.
It's a lot of children. And next we're doing it at the London Philharmonic with, for their children's family program in March. So this piece is going places, especially connecting with young audiences.
Excellent, excellent. And what this is making me kind of think about is the many very different forms that composition takes. And I'm really intrigued to know, because you're a performer, you're a vocalist, you're a pianist, you're an improviser, you also compose for more conventional settings, but you kind of cross all kinds of genres, as Kate was saying. So when you think of the idea of being a composer, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I never thought I was going to be a composer, I swear to God. I grew up listening to music all the time because my family is, 3 generations of musicians. My father, my uncle, everybody plays music. So I was in the household and I got exposed to a lot of it when I was a child. And then I heard film music for the first time and I fell in love with it. I thought thought that's all there was, because I had no access to symphony orchestras where I was from. I'm from a suburbs of Rio, which is kind of rural. I was kind of rural at the time, and no access to any of this amazing stuff. So I had heard it was from TV and movies, and I thought like, wow, I really would love to do that someday, because that sound, the orchestral sound, really got to me. And I worked for the next, I think, 20 years of my life to get to that point where I could write something for orchestra, just because of E.T. Something like that, like something that John Williams wrote. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. So yeah, that's what happened. I fell in love with orchestral music.
We need to tell Steven Spielberg about what he's influenced happening here, with E.T. being your starting point. And I know that many people say that they discover orchestral music and classical music through film. So shows why that art of film scoring is so important. So seeing as you were just talking about orchestras, why don't we get ready to hear another clip of yours, which is just to show you how exclusive this is. The piece we're about to hear is on a recording that's not an official recording, so the quality is not top notch, but it's good. And this piece hasn't even been premiered yet, so you're getting an exclusive of a piece called Cinematheque. And actually it follows on from some themes that Clarice was mentioning, and it's being played here by Brooklyn Ryder. So let's have a listen to this piece. Thank you. Round of applause from me there. Thank you for that. That was beautiful. And I know that you actually have some kind of ideas that you sometimes share with the audience before you have that piece performed, Clarice. So do you want to tell us a bit about what you were intending with that piece, which is called Cinematheque? So I'm guessing it's kind of linked to some of the things you were talking about before.
Yeah, and that was not even on purpose. It was amazing. Thank you so much for listening. Well, the title is Cinematheque because there's an app to go with this piece. There's will be a downloadable thing on your phone with a QR code that people can choose, like what genre, if they're listening to the music, what do they think that the movie is? Is it a silent movie? Is it a cartoon? Is it anything? Like there are going to be many options there, and then they get the option to give it a title or just submit what they think it is. So far, like they've been playing it in schools and getting some interesting answers. The really young kids, they say it's Tom and Jerry. And college students are like, oh, this is like a Batman Gotham movie. And my dad heard it and he was like, oh, this is something out of Casablanca. You know, everybody has a different opinion about what this movie could be. So it's called Cinematheque because all these titles, they're going to go into a big database, and that's going to be the piece. Everybody has a different idea of what music sounds like. So it's really an experiment because music is so subjective, and it's really how we as listeners perceive it, and everybody has a different opinion, right?
Absolutely. I was just thinking, this is obviously a private recording, but if we get permission to just share it with this group, I would love to share it with you so you can listen again, and we will send you all the prompts that I was reading. The one I have here is, you know, as you listen to this work, your task is to create a title for this fictional film. Let the music sparks visuals, and think of the characters and the storylines to inspire your title. There is no correct answer. So that might be quite a fun thing to do afterwards. But thank you for that, Clarice. I really enjoyed listening to it. And it's very generous of you to let us listen before it's actually been premiered. So that's a very exclusive opportunity. So yeah, I wonder whether you might talk a bit more about how you approach writing for, you know, for strings or for the sort of traditional classical formats like orchestras, because back in the day when you were first connected with New Music USA, I think we were supporting you to do a residency with the Boston Landmarks Orchestra at one point, and now sort of fast forward, as Kate mentioned, to January of next year. You're with St. Paul Chamber Orchestra in Minnesota, and you're taking on a really ambitious project there. So how do you deal with moving from such different scale formats and from such different worlds where the rituals and the modes of behavior and the needs of those settings are so contrasting?
Yeah, well, I think what the secret for me is I really love the interaction with people, you know, not only the audience, but also the musicians that I work with, the people I'm writing for. We always have a conversation before even we start the project. So with Boston Landmarks, it was a project where they wanted to start working with the communities around Boston and bring them into the world of orchestral music. And then they with the funding from New Music USA, it was possible to do that. So I wrote a piece for orchestra, and I didn't know what was going to happen, so to put all the people later. And so it was like ended up being a choir of children from all the major Boston areas who came and sang the music. So I was like teaching them the melodies myself, because nobody read the music. It was very nice. So now, as you were saying, I'm in a whole other space. I'm still working with children and young adults. I think that's it's always going to be an important part of my life. But I'm experimenting a lot with acoustic music, with electronics and artificial intelligence. And the idea is that we are going to get more and more involved with this technology that's coming and changing every day. So the piece that New Music USA, the Amplifying Voices piece, is about that. It's about artificial intelligence. It's a droid, human droid, that I'm going to be performing. So I'm becoming a performer of my own pieces with the orchestra, which is so exciting. I've never really done that. So I'm getting to conduct them, but not in a traditional way. It's all gesture based, and it's all theatrical, and it's storytelling, visuals, lighting. It's the life of this computer human hybrid that once upon a time knew music, but it's being rebooted. So it starts with the movement called Reboot, and it goes through phases like reboot with electronics, and then data collection. I walk around the orchestra learning about how the sounds work and interact with each individual section, like the winds, the percussion, the brass. And after that, it's called machine learning. So I start conducting them, and we go through 1,000 years of music from the Western civilization very fast. So we get to hear all kinds of things. Dies Irae, you get to hear Pachelbel, the most famous tunes you can imagine, all in public domain. That are part of the Western repertoire. And finally, I go back to my electronic devices, which include a ring that controls the, it's difficult to explain. It's a ring, and it's a frame drum that is connected to MIDI. I go back and we make music together. So it's like AI creating music with humans. So that's what the piece is about. And thanks to you guys, I'll do it with Sandbox, St. Paul, but we're also going to do it with the American Composers Orchestra, Chicago Sinfonietta, and ROCO, which is in Houston, Texas. So that's really nice.
Fantastic. And I think we have some images, some photos that we can share of you wearing the technology. So do you tell us, what's that in the middle of your chest, Clarice?
Yeah, so this is like a rigged outfit that is connected to a computer. And if you touch it in different parts of it, you can get sounds, and they are electronic sounds. So that's one of the things I'm going to do, is using the body as an instrument. And the A-frame, which is so amazing. It's like a djembe or cajon, but it's all MIDI, and it has 100,000 sounds in it. It's really exciting.
Fantastic. And so does this make you feel more optimistic about what AI can actually bring to artists in terms of new creative opportunities?
Well, it's hard to say. Well, I think I'm an optimist. I think it really depends on our collective thinking and where we wanted to take it, make it a nice thing and a tool for us, or will it be, in some ways doing bad things? I have no idea. Hopefully, I still believe in the power of doing good and staying human in the best sense of that word.
Absolutely. And I guess, again, like you said, young people are going to be involved with this, and they're going to be particularly excited by watching you and how you kind of activate lots of different processes with this incredible costume and all of that technology. So it should be very thrilling for them as well.
I imagine so. I mean, I had a marketing, which I never had before, a marketing meeting with the orchestra, because I've been doing this residency for a whole year, going there every 3 months to try things. That's unheard of, right? The Sandbox residency is amazing. So we were talking about this piece, and one of the people there, she said, "Oh my God, I'm going to bring my 15-year-old. I would never normally bring her to concerts because she doesn't really connect to the music, but I think she's gonna really like that." And I really liked hearing that, because I want to see all kinds of people in the audience. I want to see all ages, all backgrounds. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right. It's the future, right? These are our future audiences. These are future musicians, and I'm really happy to hear that parents are like, "Ooh, I'll take my kid to this one," and it's something that I'm involved in. It makes me so happy. It's not ego, I swear. It's just like, oh, this is what I want people to. I want people to go and take their kids and just, you know.
And I think, you know, for us at New Music USA, we really believe in the residency model, because the people you're working with really get a chance to know you, and the audience gets a chance to know you as well. And I know you've just been doing a different kind of residency, this time at the Austin Classical Music Station, KMFA, in Texas. And again, that's with young people with the University of Texas Youth Orchestra. How does that residency work?
You know, I've been doing this work of working with young people for over 15 years now, so word gets out, you know, that I can tame some really crazy young people. And that's what we did. We went into the schools, and some actually went to the radio station. They have a wonderful setup where it can become anything, and they record live music there and they broadcast it. So I connected with, I think, 4 or 5 of the biggest institutions for music, like where they take toddlers to have music for the first time. I was invited to that. Schools that have or do not have music, I was involved with that, actually going to schools and doing workshops. And then the other part of this is that they commission you to write a piece, and they commissioned me to write an orchestral piece that was performed by the University of Texas Orchestra. And they did so great. So yeah, it was fun.
And
it was
have a clip, I think, as well, don't we? And this is another kind of hot off the press moment, because this, I think, only happened about a week ago. Clarice, is this right?
No, it happened this Sunday.
Oh, this Sunday.
It hasn't even been a week.
So there we go. Great. Well, let's have a quick listen to that clip, and then I also want to talk to you a little bit about Chicago before we move on to making sure everyone has a chance to ask questions. So let's listen to, what's the name of this piece, Clarice?
This is a play off on Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin, and it's called Baião and Blues, because Baião is a Brazilian rhythm that is associated with the northeastern part. And what I'm trying to create here is the bridge between these 2 musical languages. So it's full of brass, it's loud, percussion, solos for all the kids, even a tuba solo even. And I made the trumpet player get up at the end for his solo. It was very exciting. He actually did it.
Excellent. Well, let's have a listen. Thank you. They're a pretty good youth orchestra, Clarice. They sounded fantastic.
Yeah, they're really great.
Excellent. So that was Austin, and we've already talked about you being in Minnesota and London, all over the place. So tell us how you ended up in Chicago and what's it like being a musician and composer in Chicago?
I love Chicago so much. It was the first place I came in my entry into this country. And for some crazy reason, when I was 9 years old, I wrote a song at the piano that was titled Chicago. Don't ask me why. It had a very specific sound that maybe, I don't know, from another life. Maybe I've been here before. But when I came here the first time, I was like, oh my God, this is home. It felt like home to me. I spent 15 years of my life living in New York, though. I did do that after college, after graduating in Michigan. But I came back. So living here is great. The new music scene is fantastic. We have Eighth Blackbird, we have the Lincoln Trio, we have Third Coast Percussion. They're fantastic collaborations. We are going to premiere a concerto that I wrote for the five of us in November.
And you were Grammy nominated, weren't you, with Third Coast Percussion?
We were, yeah, with the album that we did together called Archetypes. We didn't win, but we got nominated. Yeah, it was very nice to go to the Grammys. Interesting situation.
And I mean, to me, it makes complete sense that you're in Chicago, because Chicago does have so many different kind of music scenes within the scene. You know, there's the AACM tradition and the jazz and experimental, and then there's really strong contemporary classical scene. There are amazing festivals in every genre. So I can totally understand why you would end up there.
Oh, there's blues, and the theater scene is fantastic, and the magic and the improv comedy. Seriously, I can't see that. I mean, New York has everything too, but I love the fact that it's smaller and you can kind of sometimes walk to things and places. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. I'm sure our two Chicago-based guests tonight are going to be very happy that you're saying that. And just for the rest of you, in case you hadn't seen the news, New Music USA has launched a program in Chicago where we're supporting 12 local music organizations in the next stage of their development, and we're giving them funding and helping with training, and many of those are all led by artists who are really trying to kind of move things forward. And so yeah, I'm sure people like you, Clarice, have really inspired them, and I really hope, I mean, I see that Chicago is one of those cities where people stay there. You know, students will stay in Chicago rather than leaving for New York, because you've got everything you need there. At this stage, I would love to open up the floor for questions. I think at the very end, I have a little special treat, and another music clip that we're going to show you just to end tonight's conversation. But before then, please do let us know if you have any questions for Clarice, based on anything you've heard today or anything else you're just curious about asking Clarice.
Hi, Clarice. Hi, I'm curious about the improvisation, and that was mind-blowing, really incredible, that piece. And just did you like rehearse it with them? Did they have some structure, or how did that work?
I know, that's crazy, right? This is how it works. I'll teach you now how to you give people something that they can sing in loop. So it could be anything. I come up with stuff in that moment. If I rehearse it, it won't come out because I'll get nervous. So let's say I give 3 people, and they loop that. Then I go to another group and I go and say, then you have harmony, and they keep looping that. And then that means like go up in volume. This go down in volume. That means stop. And then you bring everybody back again. I had a beatboxer. I had everybody separated by the voice type. So basses, the tenors, the sopranos, and the mezzos and sopranos like that. So I knew the height of the voices. And then the audience just like call and response. So I do that a lot when I perform. I don't know if I did that in the concert with my dad and my uncle that Kate went to, probably not, not appropriate. But you know, if it's a crowd that is willing to participate, usually I'll do sing something and they sing something back. And it's really exciting because you never know what's gonna happen. It could go anyway, right? And you have to know how it starts and how it ends. That's all you need to know.
That was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Wendy, I think you were going to ask a question.
Right. Hi, Clarice. I'm with the Sorel organization, and we support women in music, and in particular composers. And I'm always wondering. I first became aware of you with your collaboration with the New Century Chamber Orchestra and your recordings with them. And I guess so. I think a lot about residencies. I think about how do composers, what matters, what takes you to the next stage. What advice do you have for funders sitting in this room that say, this really made a difference in my career? This is something I needed to move forward. This is something that really helps me get to another level, move forward in my career.
Thank you for this question. I think, well, nobody can get anywhere without help, right? So for example, with New Century, I was lucky to be, at that stage, I was really young. So I started working with them as an arranger. I wasn't even writing music for them, not my music. I was arranging and transcribing because there's not a lot of string music. So they believed in my talent, for example, and they commissioned me something. So of course they had to find the funding for that. I think at the time they were being funded by the Getty Foundation. So they would do fundraisers there. But I think what they saw is like, okay, there's this young person full of like excitement to be transcribing Bach. Let's give this person a chance to write something new. And then from then, if you do something that you do it well, then oh wow, next thing was like a recording. And then again, I think what happens is that people need to champion your work. They have to believe in you. It's usually an older person who has been around. In that case, was not just Lerna Sonnenberg. She was the one artist who was in charge of the orchestra, and I was with them for 10 years. I wrote a lot of arrangements for them, and 3 pieces that you probably heard because they recorded at least 2 of them on records, and that made a big difference. So I mean, it's a go with the instinct on who really has the fire in their belly to do something, and you can tell who those people are. Like as soon as you see, like I can spot them like immediately when I'm in a class with students, or even in the audience, how people are looking at your performance or not. You just feel it, and champion their works, and yeah, be there for them.
And it's interesting you mentioned there, honing the craft of arranging before, getting the chance to compose. And I suppose if you think about it, someone like Nico Muhly was Philip Glass's assistant for quite a long time. So I presume what his work would have been arranging to a certain extent as well. So that's an interesting kind of trajectory, I think. Sorry, carry on. Yeah.
No, I just said it's a great school, because when you're in school, you get to get some performances of your music. Usually I have to beg people to play your music, please play. Then you get one performance, usually never gets played again. But in situations where first of all, you're getting paid for your work, even if it's not, oh my God, it's not the greatest pay in the world. You're getting paid. So that means something like, oh, my work has potential for me to make a living out of that. And it's encouraging, right? That's how you build confidence. I think it was a great school for me. And Nadia was like kind of, very, very hard on me. I remember like turning an arrangement of, it was Preludium in Allegro by Chrysler. Maybe it's for piano and violin. She was like, okay, make an arrangement of that. And I just made a transcription. So like, oh, this is no good. No imagination. I'm not, what did she say? Impressed. Oh my God, that was so much. But then I went back and I made it like, so it was good. It wasn't like a critic writing something bad about my music. It was like somebody I really looked up to and said, you can do better than that, you know.
Yeah, someone who pushed you, I suppose.
Oh yeah, I needed it. I was like, okay, not good enough. Okay.
Any more questions from our guests this evening? I've got another. Oh, Jerry, please.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So Clarice, I met with Opera Parallel in San Francisco, and Nicole Paymont, who's a big fan of yours, says to say hello. And I'm curious about, I really loved your Cinetech piece and what you said about getting people's views of the music. At the San Francisco opening gala a few nights ago, they used AI to project images behind each musical piece, which is sort of the opposite of that. I felt like it was telling us a little bit what we should be seeing or thinking instead of letting us do it. And afterwards, I spoke with a number of people, and it was generational. The old folks found it distracting, and the younger folks found it fantastic, and they loved watching what was being screened. And I wonder if you face any of that. Do you see that generational difference? Are we seeing a shift?
Well, yes, of course, but I think it's mostly because of this.
Yeah.
This is what happened. I mean, we are on our phones all the time, and all the information and the colors and the stuff jumping at you is not that something I grew up with. So definitely I see, and also the attention span has changed. What I do try to do is, because I also love gadgets and technology. I'm a, you know, I'm an Aquarius. Okay, so Aquarius, yeah. So I love playing with this technology. I think it's incredible. But at the same time, I also don't like to tell people what to think, right? I like to that's why I wrote this piece. I'm like, okay, you're actually in a concert. This is supposed to be a concert. You're supposed to be getting information through your ears. I know you're gonna probably be thinking about looking at your phone or space out, but can you pay attention and can you listen to this and tell me what you feel when you listen to that? So that's why I wanted to say it's an experiment. I don't know how that's gonna go. It's gonna be interesting to see, because they're gonna perform it so many times, and then I'll gather the data. So if people submit answers and what they are, you know, I'm gonna have a pretty good idea of where people's minds are when they are listening to that particular piece anyway. But you know what I mean? It is definitely there. There's a gap, and we just need to, I think we need to come to a place where we are more even with, you know, where technology and acoustic music and being in a concert and actually listening to music together, which is what we do, right? We go to a concert hall to listen to music together. Oh my goodness, I really would love to preserve that if I can. But I also have to go and meet them halfway.
Yep.
Because otherwise it will just, you know, that's what I think.
Thank you.
I love this kind of reflection on attention spans, because I think in some ways that's why it's so important in my view that these pieces, these brand new pieces by living composers for orchestra or whichever format, are co-commissioned so that they actually get played more than once. Because I think the more pieces are repeated, you know, the more people have a chance to listen to them, the more chance we have to actually shift the kind of future canon. Otherwise it's just like everything is a small drop in the ocean and then it goes away. And so I feel like that the journey of a piece can help sort of build that recognition. Have you been in many situations where there are co-commissions happening, Clarice? I mean, obviously that's something we're doing with Amplifying Voices, but does it happen in a lot of other settings or sometimes, or?
I mean, honestly, my as I said, when I started in music, I was so sure I was going to get out of college and go performing and make a living with that, because that's how my parents, my father and my uncle, not my parents, sorry, they did it that way. And I was looking at like, okay, I cannot possibly make a living as a composer. There's no such thing. I couldn't believe in that, right, at that time. Also, I'm a woman from Brazil, And I remember going to a conference of new music, something ASCAP put together long ago, and even John Corigliano was saying, orchestras don't like to play living composers' music. That wasn't too long ago. And I was like, oh my God. So to answer your question, this has been happening quite recently. So I say my career is like going like so slowly up to the point where I am right now, where I actually get people to ask me to be in a consortium. Oh, would you write a piece for me? Can we put a consortium of orchestras together? But it took a long time. I'm 45 and I started, doing music professionally, singing in jingles and stuff when I was 6 or 7. Like in going to do studio work, and then by the time I was 13, I was playing with jazz orchestras and in the music reel scene in the 90s. Very inappropriate, I know, but we didn't have age curfews at that time in Brazil. Things have changed. But yeah, I was kind of the mascot, like the young kid who could play. So I've got a lot of experience, and it hasn't been easy. It has been like you have to build resilience, and you have to make partnerships and get together with people who think like you and who want to champion your music and hear your music, of course. Otherwise, there's nothing. Then there's no music happening, right?
I'm so pleased that you feel like now you're finally kind of taking off, and it's been, the opportunities are coming at you rather than you needing to seek them out as much.
Yeah. And also, I know that in many ways also I do check so many boxes after COVID happened and all of the awareness of, more diversity. I happen to be from Rio. I happen to be a woman. I mean, there are all these things that also contribute to it, but it's not that alone. It's all the years of hard work that I've put in and staying in this field and and making music.
Congratulations. I think you've got a whole new community of fans this evening, but do we have any final questions before we wrap up with a final clip that is actually going to feature Clarice with her father, Sergio Assad, and her uncle, Oder Assad, in Paris in about 2004, Clarice, I think it is. But before we show that final treat, are there any final questions from you all?
Yeah, I have one. Clarice, this is Andrew Wallach. I just want to know, are there any particular projects that you're really dying to do that that you haven't done yet? Anything particular?
Yes.
Any particular people you want to collaborate with who you haven't done it yet?
That I haven't done? Oh, there's so many. Woof. But the one thing that I really want to do and work towards is I do want to guest conduct eventually and be able to do my own music and also other people's music in one concert as a performer, guest conduct, very much like what Bobby McFerrin did back in, I think the 2000s, 90s. He would go to the CSO and then perform with them, get the orchestra to play like standards, and he would be part of, just, I don't know, he did everything. And I would love to have something similar to that, but doing my own thing. That's definitely a dream for the future.
He did that with SPCO. You're with SPCO. It seems like a perfect opportunity for you to ask for that.
That's right. I'm trying. I mean, that's what I haven't done, right? I don't have the skill set yet, but something that I'm working on. I think, especially with this piece, it might happen sooner than I thought it would, And also, like, I love working in theater. Of course, maybe you can tell that so many of my works are incorporating theatricals, and I just wrote an opera that premiered last month in Brazil. My first opera, was amazing, full orchestra, choir, 5 soloists. It was a huge deal for all of us.
What's the name of that opera, Clarice?
It's Isolda. Tristão. It is about Tristan and his old myth, but told in today's era, and it's
oh wow.
The story is about the refugee crisis. So it was really powerful. We actually had a lot of refugees go into the theater to watch, and it was sold out every night. And they made clips of these people who have been refugees in Brazil for a long time, screaming, like before the last chord was even like played, they were like singing "Open the Frontiers." It was really amazing. So, you know, that's definitely something that I would love to do more of, because wow, the impact that it had, you know, we wrote something bigger than we thought that we were doing at the time. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Clarice. We're just coming up to 9, so I want to make sure we have a chance to see this final clip. Is there anything you want to say about it, Clarice, before we put it on?
I want to say thank you for listening to me at all.
With us and for sharing all your stories. I think we all want to hear this opera, so I hope Opera Parallel might pick it up in San Francisco. We will definitely stay in touch, and if we have permission, I'm going to send everyone that orchestra clip and the instructions so you can listen to it again and go through the questions of what you would call that film. But thank you all so much for being here this evening, and let's end with this clip that takes us back a few years to when Clarice was with her dad and uncle.
Merci beaucoup. Pour la prochaine chanson, je voudrais inviter sur la scène mon papa Sergio et mon oncle Odair.
Thanks so much, everyone. I just wanted to just give a quick goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're so appreciative of all your support at New Music USA. Thank you, Clarice, for sharing this, your work, your talent, your everything, sharing this time with us tonight, but sharing everything that you're, all the music you're bringing into the world. We so appreciate it. And I really hope all of you have a chance to hear more of Clarice's work. I'll be in touch with you all. We have another Table for 10 booked on November 9th with Billy Childs. And I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kate, for introducing as well. And we will see you at the next one, I hope. And Clarice, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolute joy to listen to your music and to speak with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.